I was muted. Having this fat conversation with everybody and you can't hear me. I apologize. It's another GearTalk Friday. Thanks everybody for being here. Really excited. Yeah, because we're talking about the new Nokta Makro Simultaneous Multi Frequency machine. So a little bit of FOMO that we're going to create, and I've got an awesome guest. You've probably seen it's Adam Kearley from the UK and part of the Nomads team. So that's really exciting. Going to have a nice chat and geek out about a bit, about the new machine, and talk some specs, talk features, talk expectation, all of that good stuff, what we're looking forward to, and so on and so on. So, yeah, in a bit we'll have Adam on here, and then we'll have a nice fat chat and take it from there. So, from me, Friday night, I'm cooling down after a long week. So, cheers, everybody. And yeah, let's just say how's it to everybody in the stream. So, Terry Curry, how's it? Thanks for being here. John, I know you here. Thanks a lot. Tidy Treasure Hunter, thanks for being here. Francois, thanks for being here as well. Southern Relics, Ashley, just go through some people and just say how's it. Mr. Smith, thanks for being here. You just got your first detector today, so that's really exciting. Detecting with Old Man Salty, greetings from the stormy West Coast. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. It's going to be a fun stream. So yeah, man, we're going to give it a couple of minutes just to get everybody into the stream and say how's it. And yeah, man, then we'll start. So it's nice and wet here, where we are, nice and cool and wet. We've had a couple of really hot days. That was crazy. But yeah, now we've had some stormy weather, and it's actually cooling down nicely. Keith Nicholson, how's it, man? Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah. So, like I said, always, well, at last week's stream as well, I mean, this whole stream is about engaging with us. So please, I mean, whether you're a Nokta Makro fan or not, I really want you guys to ask questions. Let's compare, let's talk about gear. Let's talk about other machines. Once we go through some of the specs, I mean, there might be some features that you're not familiar with. There might be some features that you think are or is old technology or whatever, but I just want us to talk about it, so yeah, again, I might be a little biased with these new machines coming out, but I am super, super, super excited. So we'll also see or talk about when we can expect some of these machines. I'm really hoping that we can see these machines in South Africa still this year. I'm not 100% sure when we can expect them to be here. But yeah, it's definitely going to be soon. So I know in South Africa we already have pre-orders, so you can place your orders now already, and I'll also send a link to you guys over there or in the chat. So have a look at that. And yeah, so if you're new in the stream, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Make sure to give this stream a thumbs up. That really helps us. And if you're not part of the team ZARRPS, please consider subscribing. I mean, every now and again on a Friday, we do these gear talks and we just geek out and talk about gear. So, yeah, I think there's quite a few people in the chat already. Appreciate it. I think it's time that we just bring on our guest and let's just start talking about it. So, yeah, if you don't know who Adam is from Detect Sussex, I'm going to bring him into the stream now and let's say how's it. Here we are.
Hey, Leon, how you doing?
Hey, Adam. Thanks for being here, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me. Hi to everyone in the chat.
I know you just got off of work as well, so you rushed home, had a quick change and all of that. Hopefully you got 5 minutes for a shower, but I really appreciate you being here. So I know you're not here in the flesh, but welcome to South Africa, sort of, yeah?
Thank you very much. Welcome to the UK.
Yeah, it's crazy how things are, how things change. I mean, real time. We, yeah. so far away from each other. So any case, look, for the people that don't know, Adam, who you are, I'm going to give you a minute or two to do a little punt, talk about your channel, what you guys look for, where you're based, and the whole nomads thing. So yeah, in South Africa, we're not familiar with nomads, but you can talk about that, just explain what that means. Obviously, representing Nokta Makro there in the UK. So yeah, take it away.
Sure. Okay. Well, the channel's Detect Sussex. It's been running for a little over 2 years now, and I detect in the south of England, on the south coast of England, southeast. And the basic idea is I go out for a metal detecting hunt every single weekend. I film it, and then within a day or two, I'll get it up on the YouTube channel for everyone to watch and hopefully enjoy. Just sharing the finds and any tips and tricks I come across. So as I learn the machine, I'll give the tips and tricks as I go. Being part of the Nomads team since April this year, it's a bit of an honour. It's basically the role is to represent Nokta Makro in the UK and online as well. So I'll be looking in all the forums and trying to answer people's questions on there. And yeah, just putting a sort of a visible face onto the company and using the technology on the videos so that other people can see and hopefully learn a little bit as well.
Okay, and in terms of Nokta Makro machines, obviously I know you use the Amphibio. How long have you been using Nokta Makro and your experience with them?
Yeah,
obviously
well,
for quite a while,
Yeah, well, when I first started the channel, I was actually using something slightly different, but I'd only really sort of come back to the hobby fairly recently, but soon outgrew that. The Simplex had come out since I started the channel. So I got the Simplex, that would have been April last year. So I've been using the Simplex ever since then. And then I've had the Amphibio since April this year, since joining the Nomads.
Okay, all right. And how do you find the Amphibio? Because I love it. I mean, I think the Amphibio is just a next level machine.
It is. I mean, it's taken me a little while to learn it because it's obviously more complicated than the Simplex. And I've found some really nice things with that this year at certain rallies and on my own permissions as well. It's just a more complicated detector. You can tune it a lot more. You can get right into the specific of the machine and really set it to the land you're on and what you want to find.
Yeah. So, okay, let's get into it. We want to talk about the new Legend or the Legend by Nokta Makro. So there's a couple of things that I think, might be some misconceptions and the guys want to know about the machine. I think the biggest thing at the moment is everybody has an opinion about this machine, but no one can really have an opinion about this machine.
That's right. It's obviously there are close competitors to the machine, and a lot of people are already using those competitors, and I think they're all quite sort of brand loyal. There's a new machine from Nokta Makro coming in, sort of muscling into that area of the market. But yeah, nobody has had this in their hands. I'm a nomad. I haven't had this machine in my hands yet. So, I've seen the presentation last week, same as everybody else. So I'm itching to get this machine in my hand to actually see how it performs in the field. But from what I've seen so far, what I've heard and the features, I'm really excited to get this out there.
Yeah. That's really cool. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you're talking about brand loyalty, and I mean, that's awesome. And I love when people are, number one, passionate about the hobby, and I love it just as much when people are brand loyal, because it really means that they get stuck into their machines, or hopefully they get stuck into their machines, really get to learn the features and the settings and so on. And when they go out and use it, that's why, because they're having a good experience with that machine, and I think the biggest, and I don't want to kick this stream off with any controversy or anything like that, but I think the biggest thing about this machine is everybody is comparing it to the Nox, because that's the simultaneous multi-frequency machine on the market that everybody knows, and that's kind of the be all and end all. Obviously there's some other machines like the CTX and that, but I mean that's in a different category. I think when we're trying to compare apples with apples, it's the Nox machine. So I think a lot of people are saying, but Nokta Makro hasn't had the technology. They're only getting into the technology now. So the machine isn't going to be that good. Wait a while, or whatever the case may be. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Nox has been out for quite some time. People are used to it. People have been using it for quite a while. But the new machine, the Legend, has been in development for several years. This isn't something they've come up with, 6-12 months ago, and they've thought, oh yeah, we can copy that and off we go. They haven't copied it. They've developed it from over the last few years, from customer comments, customer suggestions. It's the customer base at Nokta Makro that have come in and said, we want to see a simultaneous multi-frequency machine from Nokta Makro with the Nokta Makro quality, standard software, the build quality on the Nokta Makro machine. So that's what they've done. They've taken those requests and they've put together a brand new simultaneous multi-frequency machine with the Nokta Makro twist to it. And it's going to be really good, I think.
What really excites me about this machine personally is, I don't know if you're familiar with some of the other machines. I'm sure you are. I started off with Nokta Makro by using the Nokta Impact machine. Okay. So that was my first flagship, machine that I got, that I paid a crap load of money for, and it had all these settings and features. And I was like, the first time I put that machine on, it just went mental, and I wasn't used to it, But then when I really got into the machine and I understood the settings, it had so much in that machine that your style of detecting really changes, because as soon as you start understanding why they have all these features in there, you can either have it off or on or default or whatever. When I say your style of detecting changes, you go into, especially on my side of where we are, you go into a field and you can really customize your machine to suit the area. If you are picking up too much iron in a certain area, you can tweak it. If the ground condition is a bit wonky, where you walk in one area and then all of a sudden, you might get some EMI or whatever, you can tune your machine to kind of, like the tracking that the machine offers, Then you get into the tracking, you can turn that on and it kind of calculates or tracks the ground conditions and where you're walking. Let's say you're in a condition where there's almost no signals at all, and you can tweak your machine and shut certain things off to kind of get as much power from that machine as possible to try and pinpoint or locate targets around you and that type of thing. And that's what I loved about that machine. And Nokta Makro took that step further, and every time they brought out a new machine, and this is the point that I'm trying to make, then they came out with the Cruiser. They listened to their customers. They're like, okay, the Impact wasn't waterproof, the coil was, but it wasn't a waterproof machine. Then they brought out the Cruiser, multi-cruiser. They took the best from the Impact with some additional features, beach features, waterproofing, put that into the machine. Had that machine for a while. I got that machine, was a next level machine, added the carbon shaft, all of those goodies. And then the step up from that was the Amphibio. Then that's like they took the best of the Impact, included it with the Cruiser, and then they created this beast of an Amphibio machine. And that's what excites me about the Legend, they took all of that, put it into an extremely popular housing, the Simplex Plus, what the customers like and enjoy and use, and they're bringing out this flagship multi-frequency machine, so they keeping those settings, keeping those standards, and just adding more and adding more and adding more.
Absolutely, yeah. I think what Nokta Makro do really well is not just building on that, obviously taking the customer's recommendations and suggestions and building on the last machine, but the machines themselves, you can use them at a very basic level. You can just, when you first get them, you can use them on very basic settings, and they're still usable. Like you say, then you can tune them up. So with the Amphibio this year, it's by far the most complicated detector I've ever had in my hand. So when I first started, it was default sensitivity, it was default, whatever settings looks like something I was vaguely familiar with, quick brown balance, and off I go. Whereas now I've been using it for 7-8 months now, and I can walk into a field and go, right, that's the mode I need. I'm going to tweak that. I'm going to take the gain rather, sorry, to this. I'm going to tweak the tones here. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And yeah, you can just really fine tune it to the land. But yeah, obviously stepping from there to the Simplex, which is more of an entry level machine, that's really taken the industry by storm with the quality and the build of that and the ease to use. And they've taken the best parts of that, and now they're employing that in the new Legend machine. I think you alluded to it. It's in the same housing, so it's the same robust waterproof housing as the Simplex. I mean, that thing is pretty much bomb-proof, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, that's like the perfect segue to my next point that I want to discuss, and that is the Simplex. So, a lot of guys are under the impression, or they're trying to compare the new Legend with the Simplex, and I think it's important that we don't do that. Okay, I think there's certain things of the Simplex that you can take and say, I'm excited because this is what I loved about the Simplex, and they've now created the Legend. But I do feel that the two machines are, chalk and cheese. The Simplex was very specific in what it was and what they tried to achieve in the market. But the Legend, I think is just a step up, and I think it's a different market. For example, someone on one of the forums the other day made a comment and said, oh, in the next month or two, we're going to see a whole lot of Simplexes for sale in the market. And I saw that and I said, I don't necessarily agree, because and I commented and I said, I think the person who purchased the Simplex is not necessarily the person, who is going to buy the Legend, maybe perhaps. But what I meant by that was, I think if you have an Amphibio or maybe a multi-cruiser or just a cruiser machine, I think you would most probably sell one of those machines if you wanted to sell a machine, and replace that machine with the Legend.
That's right. What I always say when people ask me what's the best detector for me, what's the best detector, I say it's the best detector for you and the type of hunting you want to do. This is just a different tool in a big tool set that Nokta Makro produce. So you can use single frequency detectors, especially something as easy and simple and basic as the Simplex, which has some advanced features on there. So if you're a bit more expert, you can still use it. You'll use that for certain things, and then you'll get the Legend out and you'll use that for other applications. It's going to be fantastic on the beach. It's going to be fantastic on mineralized land. It's going to be fantastic if you've done a place to death, you want to get a little bit deeper. It's just a different tool in the toolbox of the tool set that Nokta Makro produced for us.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I've got more than one machine, and a lot of people ask me this question all the time when they say, okay, but what's the best machine? And there isn't a best machine. I use various brands, and within those brands, I use various machines. I find myself taking my Simplex to the beach probably 90% of the time. It's small, it's compact, it's easy to use, it's switch on, point and shoot type of thing. That's extremely convenient for me, because when I go to the beach, I mean, I'm not a beach detectorist, so I'm not there all the time. I'm maybe there once or twice a year. I go to the beach, and then I have my Simplex. It's nice and easy to fold up, and I have it with me, and I take it out. I know exactly where to, put it on my settings, do maybe a ground balance if that's necessary. And I just go detect, find a couple of coins. And I mean, I'm not as hardcore to go into the water and look for rings and stuff like that necessarily. I'm just there to play around on the beach, and that works perfectly for me. I could probably take my Amphibio and do, just as good or even a better job if I really wanted to get into the water. But I don't do that, And the guys that do that, end up diving or snorkeling with their machines or getting into the surf. They would probably use the Amphibio, because it's just built better for that type of application. And like you say, you have this tool set with different machines, and that's what you'd use,
Yeah, exactly right. Couldn't agree more. And the Legend is just a new addition, a new tool to that toolbox. We've never seen a simultaneous multi-frequency from Nokta Makro, so this is just expanding that tool set.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so before we get stuck into some of the hardware and the settings there, I'm going to go to chat quick, just say how's it to a few people. I see there's a bunch of questions. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate everybody being here, and I really appreciate you guys engaging with us. So send us questions. If I do miss it, give us, just repeat that question, and we'll see if we can answer you. So let me see who's here. I've got Vanna and Jason in the chat. Thanks, guys, for being here. Keith, I've got you. I want to see, someone posted a question. I want to have a look here. John made a comment there. The Legend would be in competition to the Nox 800 rather than the 600. Yeah, I agree, especially with the features in that it has. I'm looking for a question specifically that someone had made. Knox is good, but it made from chocolate. Yeah, I'm not sure it's 100% made from chocolate, but yeah. Tidy Treasure Hunter, thanks for being here. Cruiser is king. Yeah, man, I agree. The Cruiser is a really good machine. I love all the Nokta Makro machines, so that's really nice. Any case, I think I lost that question, but the Berkshire Treasure Hunter, I have the Amphibio Multi, and I will probably get the Legend, and the Amphibio is definitely a relic machine. I don't really find much silver coins with it. That's why I might go for the Legend. Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I think I've found some really good stuff with the Amphibio as a relic machine. I mean, I used the relic, the Amphibio as a relic machine for, quite a few years actually, and it was brilliant. So, Adam, I think let's jump into and share our screen, and let's jump into some of the specs off of Nokta Makro's website, and then I think let's have a chat. What do you say?
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah. So I think before we get into some of the features, what I want to talk about first, and this is some stuff that I like about the Simplex. And number one, obviously everybody that knows the Simplex recognizes the face that's changed. So we have a whole lot of new buttons and that on that controller unit, and I think that's just because of all the features and extras that we have on there. The biggest thing that I enjoy on my Simplex is the upgraded lower shaft that you can get with that machine. I think that makes a massive, massive difference. And everybody that I see that has a Simplex or actually purchases a Simplex through MDSA, I recommend that they do that upgrade. So I think it's brilliant that Nokta Makro decided to include a carbon fiber lower shaft with the Legend. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. I got the shaft. I used the Simplex for nearly a year, and then I got the shaft, and it's so much more lightweight and rigid as a machine. It just feels a lot more premium when you've got that shaft on there, and you can really feel the lightweightness of it, especially if you're going to use a larger coil like the SB35 coil. I've been using that for the last few months, and you need the carbon shaft for that coil because it's a heavier coil. The standard stock shaft on the Simplex does flex a bit, but it's not unusable. It's perfectly fine. But when you get the heavy cores on there, it will flex quite a bit when you're swinging. So yeah, definitely recommended for the larger cores. But even with the smaller cores, even with the SB24, it just gives you a lot more control when you're out there in the especially on the beaches to get around the little cracks and rocks and things. I found that really, really useful. I haven't put the stock one back on since I had it.
Yeah, I agree. And also, for the guys that are water detecting or even using it in, on the beaches and a little bit of surf or even, rock pools and that type of thing, the resistance of the water, if you don't have a carbon shaft, makes a massive, massive, massive difference. So I love it as well. So carbon shaft on the Simplex is just a game changer, and Nokta Makro realized that, and that's why they included it into the Legend. Before we go in there, Vanna actually posted a question there. What would make the Legend more competitive than the Amphibio? I don't know. What do you? Maybe you take this one, Adam. What do you feel?
They're not really competing against each other. That's the thing. They're different detectors. It's called the Amphibio Multi, but it's multiple frequencies you can select. It's not simultaneous. Whereas this is a simultaneous multi-frequency machine. So they're not competing machines at all. They're two machines in the same lineup. So I don't think I can really answer that by giving you a feature because they're not really comparable.
I agree. I think there's a lot of features in the Amphibio that makes it such a great machine that they've included into the Legend. I think the biggest plus on why you would want to have the Legend, if you wanted to, I'm just being, devil's advocate here. If you wanted to have the Legend above the Amphibio, or let's say you don't have either machines and you're thinking, should I go for the Legend? Should I go for the Amphibio? Let's, discuss some pros and cons. The Amphibio, from my experience, is not a light machine. It's not a small machine. It's a heavy machine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
It's a heavy machine. It's a bulky machine. Some guys like that. I enjoy that because I like to feel like I have actually something in my hand when I go and detect. It's built like an absolute tank. The areas that we go, I mean, you drop that machine, you've got no worries about anything happening to that machine. I mean, we detecting rocks and man, it's crazy the places that we go, mine shafts and all sorts of stuff. And that machine is it is a absolute tank, So that's a big pro for me on that machine. Won't say there's any cons except for if you're a person, maybe an elderly person, or you take a lot of strain, maybe you have some back problems or whatever, you can't swing a big bulky machine, that might be a problem. I think the plus on the Legend side is there's a lot of features, or most, if not all of the features that the Amphibio has, they've kind of replicated in the Legend machine, as far as I can see. Obviously, they've stepped it up with a few things, like one of the biggest things, it's a simultaneous multi-frequency. So it runs through a range of frequencies. And the reason for that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, certain frequencies on detectors detect certain metals, sizes, and depth better. All right. So when it runs through a certain range of these frequencies, it can kind of make a better assumption of what it thinks it sees or detects under the ground.
That's right. I think the best analogy I've come up with is when you get a singer and you get a wine glass, and they can build up the pitch of their voice up to a certain frequency, and when you get the resonant frequency of the wine glass will shatter. And it's similar with the metals, that each metal will resonate at a different frequency better. So by having more frequencies pumping into the ground at the same time, you've got more chance of one of those frequencies resonating better with the target that's under there. Whereas you could have a single frequency, and the best resonant frequency for the metal underground could be 10 degrees up. It may not say, oh, that's a really good signal. It may say there's something there, but it's a bit iffy, it's a bit a bit quiet, it's not quite great. Whereas if you've got all these frequencies going in and coming back, it'll latch onto that and go, yeah, that's a good signal. And you can really sort of pick up more things, and I think pick up better things, sort of, especially with the more silver, with the comment we had just now. You're more likely to pick up sort of the non-ferrous items, the higher frequency items, with a simultaneous multi-frequency than you will with a single.
Yeah, and especially with deep and large iron that actually gives you those forced high tones. Now, with having this multi-frequency or the simultaneous multi-frequency, that's the whole point, So we'll discuss that in a bit, but Nokta Makro introduced something that they call FerroCheck, which is basically, how can I say, a discrimination bar, and says, well, this is the likelihood in percentage or whatever in gauge of this being ferrous or non-ferrous, and both. It might have both bars lighting up, but might be more ferrous than non-ferrous, and then you can kind of judge for yourself or whether I want to dig this target or not. So that's very interesting, but we'll get into that. So Vanna, I hope that answers your question. And obviously, because the new Legend is in a Simplex housing, that makes it really convenient. It folds up really small and so on. So let's look at the hardware. Like I said, so obviously we know that there's a screen change. There's a few things on there that Nokta Makro really listened to the customers. They added a clock feature, so you can see what the time is. I've never really benefited from something like that. I think it's just, I think because I have the channel, I always have my phone. So, I might be taking a recording off of my phone or whatever the case may be. But I think that's a really cool feature, and people are really excited about that, having that on there.
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard that they're putting a clock on it, it's not something I'd ever thought of either. It's just, why would you have that on the detector? But speaking to people, everyone's like, well, that's a really good idea. So when you're swinging, quite often if you're not making videos, you'll quite often have your phone in your pocket, in your car. You'll have, maybe cuffs on, gloves on, so you won't be able to see your watch very easily. It's just a really convenient thing just to have on the screen. And they've also introduced this sort of odometer type function as well, so you can see how many hours you've put into the machine. How
exactly,
many
and that's really interesting. So, sorry, with the time and that you spend on this machine, I mean, that's fixed. That will never change on this machine. So you will log a certain amount of hours on that machine. and that won't be like reversed. That will always be available on that machine. So if you're selling this machine, I think that's the biggest thing. Once you sell this machine, someone can actually have a look at the machine and go, oh, this guy's put on 1,000 hours, working hours on this machine, and then make a decision on whether they want to purchase it or not. I think we lost Adam. Are you still there?
Sorry, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yeah,
you back.
sorry.
Did you get that?
Lost connection there. Sorry about that.
No problem.
No, where were we?
Okay, so I mean, this feature that actually clocks the time and usage on this machine.
Sorry,
so I'm making the assumption that you'll be clocking hours, usage hours on this machine, and that will never get erased. That will always be on there, like the kilometers on a car.
That's right. So for a user's point of view, you can see how many hours you put into the machine. So, how many hours has it taken you to get to a point where you feel like you're really comfortable with the machine? How many hours have you put in over a certain length of time? But also, years down the line, if you ever did decide to sell it, or maybe purchase a second-hand one in the future, you can see how much time. There's no more people say, oh, I've only used it for a couple of hours, whereas actually it's been used for 30 hours or plus or whatever. You can actually see how much usage that machine's got. So it's beneficial to the user. It's beneficial to anyone who may be buying a second-hand one a few years down the line.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, especially if you have people that say, "Oh no, I've opened this box and I've used it twice." You can actually see the machine. And I think it's also about the amount of charges that these batteries that are in these machines can actually take, because it does have a rechargeable lithium battery on the inside, and you can only charge it so many times. Obviously, it's quite a bit. But once you see X amount of hours on this machine, you can kind of make the assumption, well, it's had 100 charges or 200 charges, and would you may need to do a battery replacement or whatever,
That's right. And I've seen a few comments of this online about the battery, because it's internal and it can't be changed. The Pro Pack for the Legend does come with an external rechargeable battery. So whilst you should get several years use out of the battery that's in the machine itself, there will be a separate external rechargeable battery that you can slot on and plug in. So you can actually change that and keep the machine going for many years beyond the life of the original battery. And obviously it comes in the Pro Pack. You'll be able to get it separately as well. So it's not really a down point to have it locked into the case, because if at any point it does fail a few years down the line, you can have this external one and keep the machine running.
Yeah, I agree. So let's jump to a quick question here from Ashley. Ashley says, does the multi-frequency on the Legend make the VDIs more accurate than the Simplex's VLF? If so, is it quantifiable?
Interesting. Until I've got the machine in my hand, I won't be able to answer that for sure. The VDI range on the Legend is slightly smaller. It's 0 to 60 rather than 0 to 99.
Which makes a big difference. Yeah.
So, but until I've got that machine in my hand and I'm swinging it and I'm seeing how the VDIs react, I don't think I can really answer that question. It's, I mean, we've only seen it work on a table in a presentation in a conference hall in Turkey so far. So yeah, until we've actually got it out in the field. But as soon as I've got it, I'll be making videos. I'll be going out hunting and showing it off. So yeah, if you follow the channel, you'll be able to see it in action probably slightly before the shops get them. So yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest issue at the moment is no one's had this machine. No one's field tested it except for probably a small little concentrated group of people or team from Nokta Makro themselves. So the feedback, like any manufacturer, they've said yes. The VDIs will be a lot stable in different conditions. Obviously, with the multi-frequency, we'll go through those features now. They've got presets in the machine, and they've got different multi-frequencies for different scenarios. So they've got a multi-frequency preset for dry beach sand, and they've got the same, multi-frequency setting, or a different one, I mean, for wet beach sand. So it really means that they've taken the time to improve on the VDIs and the stability of that machine in those conditions, because those are really hard conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do a lot of beach hunting myself. So going down to the wet sand and having a device that you can switch between dry and wet, and that will react well with those conditions is absolutely fantastic. And having sort of the selectable modes rather than having sort of a big wide scale to try and filter down the correct setting for. It really shows they've taken the sort of the simplicity of the Simplex and put it into the advanced features of the Legend. So you've got these advanced modes, but it is selectable. It's not something you have to pick a number from 1 to 100 and hope that's the right one for your particular hunt.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
I mean, Nokta Makro is not new at this. I mean, the Amphibio does brilliantly on the beach. I mean, that's why it was called the Amphibio. I mean, it's a machine that does extremely well on the beach, in wet sand, in the water, and dry sand, both. So it's not a new thing for Nokta Makro. I think they've really had the time to experiment and get this right with this machine, and that's why we see those features in that machine. But yeah, it is hard. We can't really make any. Well, we don't really have any ground comments about the machine because no one's had it and we haven't tested it. So actually it's a difficult one, but the feedback that Nokta Makro has given is that yes, it will have stable VDIs and the performance is going to be really good. So let's wait and see. Okay, let's jump in because we keep on going back and forth. So Adam, hopefully you can see my screen, but I'm going to go through some stuff and then please just jump in and let's talk about some of these features. So we know that it's fully submersible, IP68 rating up to 3 meters, just like the Simplex. Advanced discrimination settings, all metal ferrous off, ground effect off, custom with notch discrimination. That's really, really nice. Obviously, the Simplex also had very basic type of notching, in that system that worked well. But I'm really curious to see what they've done with the Legend on the notch feature, because I don't know if you use it notch yourself. Every now and again I use notch, but what I really enjoy about the notch feature, and it would be nice to have it, and I'm sure they would have it in the Legend, is being able to not just discriminate certain targets or just completely notch it out, but have it notched and then select that volume, and lower that volume so that you don't, affect the performance of that machine.
That's it. They've actually said that the each individual tone, there's 60 tones on the machine. Each one can be adjusted. So yeah, if you want to take a particular notch, a particular area of the VDI range down in volume and others up, you can do that, and you can completely customize those tones and those sounds to match your detecting. I don't use notching very often, only if I'm on a field or a beach where I'm getting the same signal lots and lots and lots and lots, not every other swing there's the same signal. It's just driving me nuts. I'll notch that one out, but very rarely do I use it because quite often you can hear the differences in the tones and I make the decision that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you mentioned the waterproofness, and it's the same housing as the Simplex. And I think Dilek said a couple of months ago when she was talking about the Legend and the Simplex, the Simplex hasn't really had any issues with waterproof, with leaking on the waterproofness of it. They've I think they had one issue, but that was where someone had actually taken it apart and put it back together again. So they've broken the waterproof seal. So the actual machine itself is waterproof and is reliably waterproof. If you get the Legend, you get the Simplex, you're not going to get any issues with waterproof leaking. So you can confidently take it out on the beach, you can take it out in the rain. If you want to go snorkeling with it, you can do it underwater as well. And you can do that with confidence because it's a proven housing.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you make there. I mean, we don't want to get into any shit flinging, but we know that there are other machines in the same type of, we are competing with that brand that has had water issues, and not just water issues. There's some other issues that people have been complaining about for a very long time, and hopefully, they listen to their customers like Nokta Makro has, and they sort that out. Because that's important, because that's how you lose. That's how you lose customers. So, yeah, good point. Right, so frequency shift and noise cancellation. Frequency shift we've always had. Noise cancellation is a very interesting one. Get rid of EMI easily. I really like that.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if a lot of the fields where we are in the UK, there's a lot of electricity pylons and all sorts running nearby. If you want to use your phone for recording your videos or what have you, want to get your internet on the phone or what have you. It's easy just to switch over, and it's not just 1, 2, 3 settings like on the Simplex. They've got multiple frequency settings on this, frequency shift settings on this, so that you can, whatever the EMI, you should be able to cancel it out, so you can go for a nice quiet hunt with your machine without interruption.
Yeah, and it's it's an interesting thing. So for the people in the chat that don't know, let's talk about it in any case. But there's a difference between shifting the frequency of your machine and actual noise cancellation, because sometimes people think or they try to cancel noise or get rid of EMI by shifting frequencies. That does not always work. Sometimes you need to adjust your ground balance manually. Sometimes you need to reduce your gain on your machine. So it's very important, to make that distinguish, between frequency shift and noise cancellation. When you shifting frequencies, it's most likely you have another person close to you running a similar frequency, and you're getting interference from that machine. So let's say you have your buddy running a Simplex next to yours, then you would normally drop down to frequency shift number 1 or 3 or wherever it is, to try and get away from that interference. When EMI is electric magnetic interference, I think that's right. That is actual noise. So noise, like you say, from electrical pylons or electric boxes or whatever that surrounds you. It might even be hectic Wi-Fi signal. I don't know. That's EMI. So that's how you would use that noise cancellation feature in that machine, which I think is really nice and useful.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Recovery speed setting enables you to detect smaller targets among trash by adjusting the speed of target response. This is something that confuses people quite often when you talk about recovery speed and trying to explain to them, how recovery speed works. So quickly, machines like the Amphibia and the Cruiser, they never had the ability to select a certain recovery speed, like Dilek is mentioned in the Legend. You would select a recovery speed by adjusting your gain. So on the Amphibia, for example, correct me if I'm wrong, if you were dropping to about 89, you would get a faster recovery speed on your machine than, let's say, for example, a 94 or 95. And recovery speed, for the guys in the chats, is basically that reset. So as your coil goes over a target, the speed in which that machine resets to then, if there's multiple targets close together, it resets to kind of identify multiple targets next to each other, or, in the same small concentrated area, which I think is excellent.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I think the best example of that is if anyone's got a Simplex and they've got the SP24 coil. If you've ever been in a trashy area and you've used the stock coil, and then you've switched to the SP24, the smaller elliptical coil, the way that coil really differentiates between targets that are really close together, that's the same effect as this. So if you're changing the recovery speed on this, you haven't got to change the coil, but it'll reset the frequency it's putting in a lot faster, as you say. So yeah, you'll be able to detect and pick out targets that are a lot closer together. So if you're doing park or beach hunting, especially if it's a really touristy beach and it's covered in ring pools and what have you, as well as the coins, you can pick them out. Whereas in if you had a slower recovery speed, you can sweep, maybe get 1 or 2 signals. Faster recovery speed, you'll get all 5 or 6 or however many are there.
Yeah.
Really,
and I mean,
really
I've been sorry for interrupting, Adam. I mean, I've been using the XP DAS also for a really long time. And that was the first machine where I really had the ability to be able to change the recovery speed, settings. So they had a whole range of recovery speeds that you could use, and what I really found useful on those type of settings is, let's say you have a place where targets are few and far between. You could slow down your swing with a slower recovery speed, and you could really get a good idea of the size of that target under the ground. Because I found that if you have a faster recovery speed, you might have it's a strange thing to kind of explain to someone that doesn't know. The guys that have been detecting for a really long time would understand what I'm saying. But, as you hit a target, you could actually kind of hear a long sound. You could actually hear that it's a larger target, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yes,
I
yeah,
think
absolutely right. Yeah.
I'm sounding like a moron, but with the recovery speed, if you have too much of if you have a faster recovery speed, you can't really identify that size or that longer targets, because it's resetting so a lot faster. So with those recovery speeds, if you can really dial the machine in to the certain areas where you are at, and kind of figure out what you are picking up under the ground. So I'm really excited about that. I mean, I think that's a great feature to have in the machine.
Absolutely, yeah. Can't wait to try that out.
Okay, so then the next thing, we just touched on this, a few minutes ago. I don't know how I feel about this, Adam. I don't know how you feel about this, but 60 target IDs and harmonic tones. I don't know how I feel about only having 60 target IDs. That actually gives me anxiety thinking about it, because I'm thinking, I know the Nokta machine so well. I know the tones. Someone comes to me and they go, Leon, what is a 67? And I go, it's a bullet cartridge. What's this? And I go, no, it's this. And I know that so well. And now Nokta's gone, nah, I don't think you need 99 anymore. Yeah, we've got 60 for you. And I'm worried. I'm worried about those in-betweens,
Yeah, I hear you. To be honest, a lot of the time it's more when you're detecting, especially if you've been detecting for a little while, you'll go more by the sound than by the VDIs. I think whilst the Legend, I think, is going to be simple enough for a beginner to pick up and be able to basically detect with, it's more targeted at the more experienced detectorists. So I think with the more experienced detectorists, they're more likely to be listening to the sounds than the numbers. I'll be honest with you, I haven't been privy to the reasoning behind changing it from 99 to 60. I'm sure there's a good reason. Nokta Makro very rarely do anything to their machines unless it's been requested by customers, or they found it's beneficial to the functioning of the machine. So I'm confident that whatever the reason is, it'll be a good reason and it'll be fine in the field. But yeah, it will mean learning some new VDI numbers. I think one of the first videos I'm going to do is actually going to find some targets that I know and get a sense for where they're going to land now.
Yeah. So I think that's the only thing that kind of makes me nervous about the machine, but I'm excited either way. I'm really excited to see. I'm hoping that the drop in VDIs with the whole new multi-frequency and the FerroCheck, all these extra features that they've built into the machine, I'm hoping that in a different way. Okay, let me put it to you like this. My brain is faster than my mouth. I used the MindLab machines in the past. It was one of my first machines that I used. I used the Xterra 505 machine from MindLab. And I never liked the tones. I never liked those. I mean, I called it the R2D2 of metal detecting. Beep, boop, beep. I just couldn't figure it out. It was the weirdest thing. It just didn't make sense to my ears. And I have to say, they've got the same type of VDI range as those 50 or 60 tones. And it was extremely, extremely hard, especially if you were trying to, I mean, that's not a multi-frequency machine, but it was extremely hard to differentiate between bottle caps, screw tops, pull tabs, and coins, where, for instance, on the Nokta machines with the 99 VDIs, you could have a bottle top coming in at, let's say, for instance, a 72, and because you have that larger range, you might get a coin at a 73 or a 74 or above type of thing, not always. I mean, there might be times that you get fooled, or a lot of the time, 60-70% of the time, it's hard to pick up a bottle cap from a coin. That's the whole point. But because you had that much larger range, it was easier, or I found it easier for the machine to kind of split those targets, even if it was 2 or 3 different VDIs.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. But as I say, the tones and the VDIs, or the tones rather, are completely changeable on this and editable. So I think, well, like any new machine, it's going to take anyone a while to learn it. I will be spending a few weeks and possibly months learning it before I'm putting any tutorials out on it. That's for sure.
Definitely.
But you just need to put the time in, dig everything for the first couple of hunts, and just get to the point where you're starting to predict what's coming out. So you think, okay, I've heard that tone a few times before. That's been a ring pull the last 16 times. Let's try it. Okay, yeah, it's a ring pull again. So you'll start to learn. You'll start to hear the tones and the way they react. If you're going from a Simplex or an Amphibio or another machine that you're used to on the Nokta Makro side of things, yeah, it's going to be different. But I think if they're going to come out with a completely different machine, the simultaneous multi-frequency technology, I think it kind of needs to be different. It needs to be something new. It needs to be something further. And a lot of people were complaining about the tones on the previous machine, so I think going for the polyphonic tones as well, hopefully that will help us to hear the differences and nuances in the different targets we're picking up. So yeah, I can't wait to give it a try.
I agree, and I think, I mean, this is the only thing that, well, one of the things that really excites me when I kind of think of the VDIs that have dropped the way they did, and that is the FerroCheck. So obviously, some of the main features that this machine gives us is the SMF, Simultaneous Multi Frequency. So we have 2 multi and 5 single frequencies. So you have the ability to use the machine on a single frequency only. I love the fact that you have 5 frequencies to choose from, instead of the the traditional 3 frequencies that you got with the Multi Cruiser and then Fibio Multi, which is awesome. Built-in clock and time tracking that we spoke about, 4 search modes. This is really nice. So we have park, field, and beach like we had on the Simplex and some of the other machines, or similar. And then we have gold field. That is really, really interesting. I think the guys that are beach hunters are going to enjoy that, especially for some of the fine gold chains and rings and that type of stuff. I think that's really interesting that they actually included that into their settings, having a gold field mode. Yeah,
again, it's something that's been requested. It's something that Nokta Makro have had feedback from their customers. They came up with the name's eluding me, the gold find, the gold machine that came out a few months ago. It's they came up with that as sort of a gold prospecting machine. But the request for the Legend coming out was to have a gold mode, so that you can, on the beach, you can find the smaller bits of gold. But also, if if you're in an area where gold prospecting is a thing, you could probably use the machine there as well and do quite well. It's not something that I do in my area. Gold prospecting isn't really something we do in the UK. But I'm guessing in your area, you'll probably be benefiting from that a little bit.
Yeah, very popular. Yeah, we are. I mean, we have so many guys that actually ask, what machine do you recommend to be able to find gold nuggets? But I also want to use it, maybe on the beach or go in relic hunting and that type of stuff. And I find myself, suggesting the Gold Cruiser from Nokta Makro, because it's a really powerful machine, and you can use that machine on the beach to find whatever. You can use that machine as a relic machine as well. Can find all sorts of relics and so on, and because it's a high frequency machine, you end up you can use it as a gold prospecting machine, like it was intended. So yeah, I thought that was quite interesting that they introduced that into the Legend, and I think a lot of guys are going to be excited about that.
Gold Finder 2000. I just remember the name of that detector. Sorry, Gold Finder 2000. I'll kick myself if I don't get that out.
Yeah, that's a brilliant machine though. Southern Relics has posted quite a few videos now on the Gold Finder 2000. It's doing really well, and he actually went out coin shooting as well with that machine. So it's possible, you can do it.
Excellent.
So like I was saying earlier, I think the only thing that I'm excited about, and that kind of goes, okay, dropping the VDIs is going to be okay, and that's the new FerroCheck that Nokta Makro has introduced, detect less modern trash. So that's really exciting. So, do you want to just give us a quick explanation about the FerroCheck and what it does?
Sure. Yeah, I'm really excited for this as well. A lot of my permissions are quite trashy areas, so this is going to be really, really good. So essentially on the screen, you've got underneath the VDIs, you've got 2 scales. One goes off to the left with a horseshoe logo, and one goes off to the right with a ring logo. And the idea is when you go over a target, these scales will fill up. So if it goes towards the horseshoe, it means it's got ferrous metals in it, so iron. And if it goes off towards the ring, it means it's got non-ferrous. And what this will do, it won't just fill up one or the other, it will fill up each one to different degrees. So you can tell whether or not the metal you're detecting is an alloy, or whether it is fully non-ferrous like silver, or whether it's fully ferrous like iron. Or a lot of the coins in the UK here, for example, a lot of the modern coins have a mixture. So they'll have an iron core, then they'll have a copper outer. So with this, you can hopefully tell, oh, it's got a little bit of iron, or it's got quite a bit of non-ferrous in there as well. So that's probably one of our modern coins. And after a while, you should be able to tell, depending on where these scales end up in each target, you should be able to learn and be able to sort of anticipate what target's under the ground, which is going to be absolutely a lifesaver for the beach and for the parks, and I say for some of the permissions I've got. One of the big permissions I've got is a farm. They use it for pasture, but they also use it a lot for events. So there's a lot of modern coinage there. There's a lot of metal trash. There's a lot of tent pegs, a lot of bottle caps, a lot of ring pulls, that kind of thing. So yeah, this kind of thing is going to be an absolute godsend for people like me going out in these trashy areas and trying to winkle out the good from the rubbish.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So that's something that we can look forward to. You know, they've said or Dilek said on the presentation that they've done quite a few tests and had great success. You know, especially on bottle caps. You know, trying to identify bottle caps versus coins. And they used, I think she said they used other machines as well, or the competitor's machine, and they had 60% more success on the FerroCheck or on the Legend than the other machines had, to, you know, by identifying a bottle cap from a coin. That's really exciting. I mean, okay, you know, it's not like she's going to say, or any manufacturer for that case is going to say, you know, so we did some tests and you know, the Garrett is a lot better than our machine, but, you know, we're still excited to present it, you know, type of thing. So yeah, we have to take it on face value, but you know, I think they've done their homework, and I really think that it is what they say it is, you know.
I got really excited when you said that, because it's not just a case of, oh, it did better than the competition. Here's a number. This is how much better than the competition it went. So you
100%.
know they've done the testing. You know they've got the results. You know they've done that. For them to come out with a number, I think this is going to be a real game changer for the Legend. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Exactly. You won't just say that, you know. It's like they've done the testing, they've done the comparisons. So, you know, and even if they did the comparisons and they saw, well, shit, you know, this is not the result we're looking for, we have to do better, then they do better, you know, and then present it and go, right, we've done the final tests, you know, we are spot on with our testing, we're excited to release this machine. So yeah, that's a good point. Moto mining.
Sorry, just on that point. Obviously, the machine was due to come out a little earlier than now. They're releasing it now, but it was due to come out. They were hoping to get it out, I think, before the summer. The fact that it's taken a bit longer shows that they are doing that. They are testing it. They are saying, okay, well, we can't release it just yet. Let's make a few more improvements. Let's get it so that it is absolutely ready for release. So people are going to get this and use it straight out of the box without any issues. So I think, yeah, it just shows how much work and how much effort they're putting into making sure this machine is top notch.
Yeah, I agree. And before I jump into this comment, that's a really good point, Adam, because, you know, when they first announced that they're working on a new simultaneous multi-frequency machine, people lost their minds because they knew the reputation of Nokta. They've seen the Simplex, they've seen some of the other machines come out, and which blew their minds. You know, they got a Simplex machine that was an entry-level machine, was not at all entry-level with the features that you got in it. And, you know, for a machine at that price, you got so much machine for the money, you know, and people loved it. People were like, well, okay, Nokta Makro is on the map. We really want to see, you know, what they can do. And when they announced it, the amount of FOMO that was out there, and then it took such a long time, because, I mean, let's face it, it was a long time, you know, before we got any news about this machine, you know, and people were getting pissed off about it, and people were complaining and whatever, but for good reason. And like you say, you know, they really did their homework. They went behind the scenes and they did some good work, you know, and they didn't want to just release a multi-frequency machine into the market for the sake of it. You know, they really wanted to make sure that they keep on with that legacy, like the Simplex, and keep on with that reputation of introducing, you know, a game-changing machine into the market. And that's what I think people are excited about, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so Moto Mining said, at ZARRPS, what frequency does the gold machine run at? If I'm correct, I think the gold field frequency is 40 kilohertz. As far as I know, I think it is 40 kilohertz, which is spot on. I think there's, you know, some of the competitive or competitor machines that are in the gold prospecting range. That's pretty much where the frequency range is.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we've got the search modes, we've got the gold field, we've spoken about FerroCheck. Some additional features that's in there: adjustable threshold, lets you set the threshold level and frequency in every mode. I think that's really important. The first time we saw that was, I think, in the gen modes from the Impact. When I had the Impact, you were able to adjust your threshold to really pick up those fine signals. So for the guys in the chat that aren't aware or don't know what threshold is, it's this basic this low hum in the background. That basically it's the feedback from the ground that you're hearing as a hum sound. So if you go over a very small or fine target, you can actually hear that little bump in signal. So for those really deep signals or small targets in the ground, threshold is a really nice setting to have. And the guys that do gold prospecting, I mean, they want to hear that threshold in the background, and that's because of the gold nuggets. When they're looking for those small gold nuggets, that's what they want to hear. So I thought that was quite nice. Custom user profiles. For custom user profiles, that's something different that we did not have in the machine like the Simplex. I think we keep on comparing this machine to the Simplex, which we shouldn't do, but I think it's Nokta's fault because they put it into a Simplex housing, so we keep on comparing it. But I thought I'd just mention that. So for custom user profiles, that's nice. You can adjust your machine the way you want it and basically save it. So we had those features in the Amphibio and the multi-cruiser and cruiser machines as well as the Impact. It was really useful. Easy operation, saves valuable detecting time and makes the device suitable for a novice as well as experienced detectors. Very important thing, that because I think a lot of people might be a bit intimidated by the machine when they have a machine with so many buttons and that is what made the Simplex, again, such a popular machine. And I'm saying Simplex specifically because the Simplex is the only one that had these presets in them. You put it in park mode or beach mode and you go detect.
I think this is something that, although it is a different machine to the Simplex, I think they've built on the Simplex sort of software, certainly the user interface of the screen. They've built on that for this machine. It doesn't really bear much resemblance to the other machines that have come out before, but the layout of the screen, the icons on the screen, the way the gauges look, it's very similar to the way the Simplex looks. I think they've learned a lot from the Simplex in terms of people using it, ease of use, and learning the detectors really quickly. And they've employed that in this machine. Although it is a much more complicated machine, it's got a lot more features, a lot more settings to do and play with. It's much less of a turn on and go. They've really built on that user interface. So I think, it's going to be something which is going to be quick to learn. You're not going to spend the next 6 to 12 months learning this machine. You can pick it up and within a few hours be pretty competent with it.
Yeah, I agree. That's a really good point. Put it on a preset setting, and go detecting. Get used to the VDIs, get used to the tones and the sounds and whatever. And once you need to go that step up, you can start tweaking the machine, go into certain settings and, put this on, put that on, understand the machine. And that's really nice. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, totally.
I want to jump into this. Detecting with Old Man Salty made a really good point, which we didn't mention, but it's a really good point. He says, the smaller the VDI range, the more steady the display will be. For example, it will display 67 instead of jumping between 67 and 68, or even jumping between 66, 69. So that's a really good point to make. Thanks for that, Old Man Salty. Appreciate that comment. Thanks for that. It makes sense. Okay, man. So easy operation, vibration, which is self-explanatory for people that are hearing impaired. Putting that into a machine is absolutely brilliant.
Also good
backlit
for
LCD.
Underwater work. Sorry, man.
Say that again, Adam.
The vibration is also good if you're doing underwater work, or if you're going underwater with the machine. Having that vibration feedback there is also quite good for that. So it's
100%. Yeah, 100%. Backlit LCD and LED flashlight, lightweight, only 1.4 kilograms or 3 pounds, well balanced. Enjoy detecting for extended hours without fatigue. Like we said earlier, if you look at a machine like the Amphibio, big and bulky, it is heavy. It's not a bad machine. It's just for for some people that, especially the ladies. I mean, there are a lot of ladies that I mean, and this is not me trying to be a chauvinist or anything, but there are ladies, and some of them, can't handle big, bulky, and heavy machines. And I see a lot of older ladies as well, and older men that want to get a machine, and they end up taking a machine, for instance, the Simplex, or they might even go with an XP machine because it's so light and it's so small and it's easy and it's compact. And I think that's brilliant, having a machine of this caliber in the Simplex housing that's so light and so small and easy to fold up. And if I'm correct, I think this machine folds up to plus minus about 60 or 63 centimeters,
Right.
which is really small.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very easy just to fold it up, put it in the boot of the car, off you go. You haven't got to reserve the entire boot or back seat for your detector. It folds down very, very small. Good for storage as well, keeping it at home. Doesn't take up so much room. You can have more detectors in the cupboard.
Yep, exactly. Don't say that to my wife. She's listening. She's going to say, all right, so now you can get rid of all of them and just have one machine. No,
Oh, no.
I need
The
all
Colt's
of them.
about 3 meters long, and you can't have any room for anything else. That fixed it.
Okay, well, yeah, so long battery life, up to 20 hours. That's a really long time. And then something that is so important when I speak to people about machines, and when I try and say, this is why I like this machine or why I don't like that machine and so on, and that is the firmware updates. I believe in continuous improvement because, especially with machines that are new, any machine, any brand, you will run into snags, or you might run into scenarios where people have tested something, and I don't know, it might be better to tweak or change a few settings on the machine, and you can do that with online firmware updates. So I think that's really, really important to have that.
Absolutely. I mean, you can see how much the Simplex changed from its initial release to where it is now on the 2.77, 2.78 updates. The amount of features that they've added, stability they've added, extra sensitivity, mute function. Again, it's Nokta Makro listening and saying, okay, have the machine. What experience are you having? What would you like to see changed? And if they can change it, and if it fits within obviously the machine, the price bracket, it's not overlapping any of the other machines, they'll definitely do that and improve it as much as they can. And like you say, it's essentially a small computer that they're sending out. The software may have little glitches, may have little problems, which they can solve just by putting a new firmware out. Once a problem's identified, give them a couple of weeks, there'll be a new firmware out, and you can just update that, plug the machine in, update the software, off you go, problem solved. And they showed that with the Simplex, and I think that's going to be a feature moving forward on all new detectors, Nokta Makro and elsewhere.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So let's touch on the two basic packages that we can expect with the new Legend. So we're going to have the standard WHP, a basic kit, and then you're going to get the Pro Pack. So in the Pro Pack, the difference between the two, the WHP, you'll get the standard coil, the DD Surge coil, 11-inch, 28-centimeter coil, and in the Pro Pack, you'll get the additional coil with the smaller 15-centimeter or 6-inch coil, which is really nice. The difference between the Pro Pack and the standard kit as well is the waterproof replaceable spare battery and the charger. Now, if we look at that battery, it looks completely different. There's something different about it. There's something about the shape. All of that looks a bit weird. And I've now figured out that battery actually slides in at the back of the arm cuff. Am I right?
That's right. Absolutely right. Yeah, that's where it's designed to go. It's the design they had for the Simplex. They intended on having some accessories for that. Never came through. But using the same shape for the Legend, that battery pack will slot into that slot underneath the arm cuff. So you can keep it there. You can probably keep it as a reasonably permanent fixture to the machine if you wanted to. But it just means that you've got the internal battery, which will give you up to 20 hours, depending on obviously settings and things. But you've then got this extra rechargeable battery, so you haven't got to worry about buying batteries for this. Rechargeable battery, which you can have attached to the Simplex Simplex Legend, or have it in your bag. So if you're doing a full weekend or a few days away, you don't have to worry about having to recharge the Legend. You can just have the rechargeable battery pack there. And when you do get a bit low on the internal battery, plug that in, and you're good to go for probably another day or two. of
Yeah.
decent detection.
And someone made a comment just the other day to me when they asked, can you use the external battery plug into the machine, but also be able to use, because if you think about it, they're saying a waterproof replaceable spare battery, which means, you can go water detecting with the battery fixed into the arm cuff or at the back of the arm cuff plugged in.
Yep.
So if the intention to make it waterproof and you're going to be water detecting, you're going to want to use the waterproof headphones and have the ability. So if you plug in something, the battery into the Legend machine, you don't have space for your headphones. But they've
No.
overcome that issue with this machine, correct?
That's right. My understanding, and again, I haven't seen it myself, but my understanding is you can plug the headphones into the battery. So the battery goes into where the headphones will plug in, and then you can plug the headphones into the battery, and it all comes through, and you can still use the headphones. Yeah.
So you can use your wired headphones that are completely waterproof. And I think it's the same Nokta Makro waterproof headphones that we've seen with the other machines that you can buy separately. And then obviously this battery is, is a different guy altogether.
Yeah.
Then something else that I want to talk about is the new low latency Bluetooth headphones. So a bit different to what we've seen on some of the other kits and the Simplex with the Green Edition headphones that are not Bluetooth, but they were a Wi-Fi connection.
That's right. It does mean you won't be able to use the existing headphones with the new machine. But being Bluetooth, low latency Bluetooth means that if you prefer to have your own set of Bluetooth headphones, so you've got your favorite set of Bluetooth headphones that you prefer to wear, you use for other things, you can connect that to this machine. Whereas with previous machines, you had to have the specific headphones for the machine. So yeah, it's Bluetooth, so it'd be a nice secure connection between the two devices. And yeah, you can use other headphones if you want to. And again, a few years down the line, if you do end up having some of these being sold secondhand, the headphones maybe been damaged or what have you, or if you damage them when you're out and about, you don't have to then go and spend hundreds of pounds or whatever on a new set of headphones. You can just get a set of Bluetooth headphones, whatever you prefer, maybe some cheaper ones, and use them. As long as they are low latency, you can use them with the machine. You can use them if they're not, but you'll get a delay in the sound, so they won't be very useful. So as long as they're low latency, you can use any set of Bluetooth headphones with the new Legend, which I think is fantastic, nice and versatile.
Yeah, I think that's great. There were so many people with the Simplex that asked the same question. Can I use a different set of headphones with the Simplex and some of the other machines as well? And you couldn't, because it was a Wi-Fi or a Wi-Fi type signal with the headphones in the machine, and these now being Bluetooth, it's just a different ball game.
Yeah.
So some of the accessories, some of the guys can jump onto the website and have a look at this, but we've spoken about that. I think the biggest thing that I like is the carbon fiber lower shaft, obviously waterproof battery now, and you'll have the ability to be able to plug in the waterproof headphones. This is the waterproof headphones over here that I was talking about, the wired headphones that you can plug in. So yeah, some of the usual accessories. And then the surge coils. At the moment, these are the surge coils that we'll have. I don't think they have the 35 centimeter coil available at the moment. I think we're only going to see that a bit later in next year. But for now, we'll have the 28 centimeter or the 11 inch and the 6 inch double D coils.
Yeah, I actually was talking with Dileka with this during the week, asking about the larger coil, and she said they'll be available more or less straight away. Whether they'll be coming out with the first shipments, I don't know. But she did say it'll be available pretty much with the new machines. So you won't have to wait too long to get the larger coil if you want to.
Yeah, man. So I think that kind of wraps up some of the features and the settings. I don't know if there's anything that we didn't talk about that you want to bring up and maybe touch on, Adam, from your side.
Yeah, I mean, I think we breezed over it quickly, but I think just the build quality, the Nokta Makro put into certainly the last few machines with the Amphibio, the Simplex, with this being in the same housing, this is a tough as nails detector. I mean, I've had the Simplex, I say, for a little over a year and a half, and that's been through a lot of drops, a lot of impacts. It's even fallen off of a pier onto shingle, about sort of 10, 15 feet onto shingle, and absolutely no damage, no issue with any of the connections, not just with the main housing, but with the coil and the arm cups and everything else. It's such a well-built machine. You know, you've got all the benefits of the Simplex on the build, on the physical build, with it being absolutely robust, with all the extra technology they've packed in, all the extra features. I think this is going to be an absolute game changer, this machine. I'm really excited to get hold of it.
Yeah, me too. So, yeah, man, I mean, we just about at that time of the night that we have to wrap up, but I want to jump into some of the comments. Adam, let's see if we can answer some questions. We've got Gary's metal detecting. He says, how long was it used in the field before being sold on the open market? Well, it's just been released. It's not on the market yet. We're waiting for those machines to reach our shores. I think in your side as well. We're probably going to see it sometime in December or so long. And then, we'll have access to the machine and we can test out some of the features and so on. But in terms of how long it's been field tested for, I think the first time this machine was, and this is something that it's a really good question, but the first time we actually heard about the Legend, or the new simultaneous multi-frequency being released, is probably over a year ago. So that's when they knew that they were already in production and they started testing and field testing. And Dilek made it very clear in her presentation that they've had their own tight group of field testers that's been testing this machine for months and months before releasing it. And I think what's important is, they might not have given this machine to, field testers on YouTube to make videos and do tests like that they've done previously. I think it was a really well-kept secret, and for good reason, especially for it being a simultaneous multi-frequency. But knowing Nokta Makro and the experience and the stuff that they've brought out into the market, they've been testing this machine for a very, very long time. And she confirmed that on her stream when she said that they've had their own group of field testers testing this machine extensively, especially against the competitor machines. Yeah,
and again, as we said earlier, that they wouldn't put the machine out if they weren't confident that it was going to be fine. They pushed the release back a little bit. Not that they had a firm date to start with, but they put the rough release time back by several months so they can make changes and improvements to it. So they've definitely been testing this for quite some time. And like you say, they haven't given it to people to test out in the open on YouTube and things for people to show.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, you send a machine out for testing, there are going to be things to change. There are going to be problems. There are going to be things they need to resolve, and you don't want that being shown everywhere, because as soon as someone sees that, oh well, the Legend isn't going to be great. Well, no, actually, it's just something they're going to resolve, and then they resolve it, and off it goes. So I think that's really a sensible thing to do. But yeah, it does show they have been testing this for a long time, and it's ready. They wouldn't be putting it out if it wasn't ready.
No, 100%. Gary also says or asks, how long is the warranty? I think it's going to be a 2-year warranty. I think all of Nokta Makro machines have got a 2-year warranty on their machines. And I have to say, I've had most brands on the market, especially in South Africa. And Nokta Makro, the after-sales service is absolutely brilliant. I mean, I've spoken to Dilek personally in the past. We've had some issues and so on. And I've only had an issue once with the machine, and you know what? They never asked questions as, but have you done this, or did you do that, or did you leave it in a whatever scenario? They just go, okay, send us a video, no problem. Here's a new unit. And I think within 3 or 4 days, I had a replacement part for my machine. So after sales service is just second to none. So the question, Gary, they've got a 2-year warranty, if I'm correct. And if you're worried about after sales service and that, they are next level. So Stereo Dog, nice to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here. The headphones, can you use it for other purposes as well? That's a good question. John wants to know, the headphones, can you use it for other purposes as well? I mean, it's Bluetooth headphones. That's a good question. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, on the Bluetooth headphones, you can use other headphones with the machine. I don't want to go completely definitive on it, because I've not seen that question come up before. But top of my head, I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. I say, don't tell me the red until we've managed to check it.
So that's a weird question, John, but it's a good question. I don't know if I've seen anybody ask that question. Only a matter of time until they build a camera into their housing for live digs. That's what Ashley says. Good comment.
It would save us a lot of trouble, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carl is here. He says the Legend is sounding awesome and can't wait to see and test it out. Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a good one. Terry, the Gold Cruiser and the 2000 have much higher frequencies, 56 and 61, which they were on the Legend. Yeah, I think Terry. Yeah, so let me just recap what he says. He says the Gold Cruiser and the 2000 have much higher frequencies. They've got 61 kilohertz to be exact, 56 and 61, which they were on the Legend. I don't know if it's 56. I'm under the impression they are both 61 kilohertz. Again, these machines are very specific and very application specific. I mean, the Gold Finder 2000 is a gold prospecting machine. I don't think the intention is at all to use that machine as a relic machine or a coin hunting machine or coin shooting machine at all, because it's literally a dig or no dig. Nokta Makro assumed that having that machine in the field, you're in a gold field. So if you're picking up any non-ferrous metals, the probability of it being gold is likely, if you're in a gold type of field. So I don't know if that's going to be a major difference, Terry. Some of the Minelab machines are in the 40 kilohertz as well. They're gold machines, and obviously they work. So I think they're spot on with the 40 kilohertz as a gold prospecting frequency. Again, if you're specifically going to want to use the machine as a gold prospecting machine, looking for nuggets and that type of thing, maybe you need to look at a Gold Cruiser or a Gold Finder 2000. So anyway, I'll go through these comments. Adam, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to say, but I think we've kind of got stuck into most of the features and so on of the machine, and it looks good.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else. I think we've covered it all. As I say, the Nomads should have the machine. I think they're sending them to us as they're sending them to the distributors. So as there'll be a smaller package, they should get to us a little bit quicker. So if you follow my channel, DTech Sussex, if you find the other Nomads, follow some of them. If you're really keen to see this machine being used before anyone else gets it, follow our channels, see what we're doing. We'll be getting videos out as soon as we have them on our grubby little mitts, and you'll be seeing them, in use as quickly as possible. So that's a good
100%. So the moderators will actually put your link to your channel in the chat, Adam. So please, if you in the stream you enjoyed it, please go over to Adam's YouTube channel, Detect Sussex. And give him a thumbs up, watch some of his stuff, and make sure to subscribe and just share the love. Adam, thanks a lot, bud. I really appreciate you being here. You can now rest. It's Friday night. Enjoy your weekend. Man, I'm sure we'll chat to you soon.
Yeah, no, great. Thanks for having me on, Leon. I really appreciate it. It's been fun. Really has.
Okay, buddy. Take it easy. Cheers.
Take care. Bye.
Right, guys. Man, I'm having a look in the chat. I don't think there's anything else that someone wants to know. Old Man Salty says GPS is very useful for relic hunting. I mean, that's 99% of what I do. I've never really gone and felt that I need a GPS. When I do take photos and that of any of my finds, I kind of geotag them and I've got those locations. But I believe the CTX has got something like that. I'm not 100% sure. I've never really had a use for that. But thanks for the comment. Guys, I mean, this has been a long stream. Again, thanks a lot. We're going to do this every Friday, ever so often. So maybe every second, maybe every third Friday, we'll do a GearTalk Fridays, where we just jump on and have a guest and geek out on some metal detecting gear. So thanks for everybody for being here, being in the chat, participating, for the comments. Make sure before you go, give us a thumbs up on the stream. If you haven't subscribed to Team ZARRPS, please make sure to subscribe and join our team and watch some of the stuff that we do. And I had a great time with Adam, and great time with you guys. And enjoy your weekend. And I'll see you guys on the next episode. Take it easy.